Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Happy Monday to you. Hard to be super excited on a Monday when we have such redness here. Bitcoin is what do they say? Pooping the bed. There's a lot of terms that I could use to describe that, but that's the PC version. So Bitcoin doing poorly. We got to give a chance for that 97K range to hold as potential support for maybe a double bottom. But the reason why I'm mentioning this is we have this descending type of trend for Bitcoin until it breaks free from that, or it's a solid closure above 100,000. We're not really going to be in a pretty good place. And I know people are probably scratching their heads. What do you mean, Cash? We closed at 100,000 or higher yesterday. What's the big deal? Well, that was a fake out. And of course, it's always best to wait. But in the overall sense here, we're still not looking pretty. Okay. So again, just kind of throwing that out there so you understand kind of what's going on the back end. This is not like Solana just having a bad day. This is Bitcoin having a bad day and Solana following suit, which has happened time and time again. We had this perfect ascending pattern here, nice potential breakout. Didn't happen, couldn't close above that 242. So again, as I mentioned before, do not take a trade until we close above this level, right? That's the concept. So while we have a trade right now that's open that I think we're kind of averaged out pretty close to break even or just below, I'm not super concerned with it, but Bitcoin, if it cannot recover here soon, we may have to consider an alternative route for Solana. Key takeaway here is though, we're right in that support range, 222 to 225, that rough estimate there. We've seen a lot of support here. We got to see if this holds first or not. Okay. Again, same thing with Bitcoin too. We got to see if it holds. So generally speaking, support levels will hold until they don't, right? And I know that sounds crazy and weird, but the general consensus, you have to give support levels a chance to be able to actually do what they're there for, which is to support the price. Okay. All right. Anyways, conversation for later. I'll try to integrate more explanation on that too. But for the most part, when we look at liquidation here, we can see there are some people trying to buy this dip here, which again I feel is kind of risky, but it's also warranted as well based on it being a local support rather. There's a lot of good support in the 220 to 225 range. So we got some late longs here, proving that they feel confident in that. And I would say yes if it wasn't for Bitcoin looking as bearish as it is right now. Okay, so you got to recognize Solana has not proven lately to do well outside of Bitcoin. Granted, over the weekend, it was looking like it was doing a lot better. It was going sideways and up while Bitcoin was kind of going sideways and down. But we've now aligned ourselves almost specifically with Bitcoin because of that correction that we saw. And that's a big deal. It's important to recognize that. While that can change at any time, right now, for the moment, if Bitcoin goes down, Solana will too. We got to recognize that. Okay. Either way you look at it, still a ton of liquidation on the upside here. So these shorts at about 250 still holding strong. But again, we start to recover. 250 is still a heavy area of liquidation. We've seen this delta shift as well here from bullish to bearish. That happened in the last 12 hours. And we can see most people are shorting Solana versus taking longs right now, which is sensible. It totally makes sense. Take a look here. We could recognize open interest too. We've got our potential support levels. If we can close back up above them, 235, 237, those were those two areas I talked about previously as potential support levels. Well, they didn't really hold too strong. We actually had a nice little double bottom here off 234, lost that level, having it come back up enough to retest that as a resistance. So the truth is we got to treat 234 and 237 now as a potential resistance if the price recovers back up. Okay, so that's generally how you're supposed to approach trading when things like this happen. All right. Is it an exact science? Definitely not. But I can't tell you, it does increase our odds of success understanding these things. But take a look here on the daily. We're going to omit the weekly time frame because not much has happened there. I've already looked at that. So truth is, it's still looking mostly bullish. I know it sounds weird, but most coins are going to be bullish on the weekly time frame, and there's no significant disparity there that we need to be mindful of. The daily time frame, however, we still need to recognize that we cannot and have not closed above the 20-day SMA for about maybe just say 7 to 10 days. Okay, that's a pretty big deal. That shows us point of control at 237 is at a strong resistance level. We cannot close above it. Thou shalt not pass. Okay, so we got Gandalf up there holding strong, saying, "Do not come across this line." All right. So we're going to take we need a lot more volume to be able to get through that. That's really what it boils down to, because even though we had a pretty significant amount of volume last week, it tapered off over the weekend, couldn't continue to break through. Bitcoin pulled back. You can kind of see everything kind of coming together there. That just doesn't work out very well. Having said that, though, we're now under 50 in the RSI. We haven't seen a price point under 50 in the RSI since November 4th. It's been over a month. And November 4th, by the way, we were back in the 160s, just to give you perspective. So again, does that mean Solana's going to run to the downside? Not necessarily. We still got a decent amount of support in this current range, 210 to 220 to 225. But on the same accord, we got to recognize losing 50 on the RSI While it hasn't happened yet, today's candlestick hasn't closed yet, that's generally a bearish sign, okay? We can see here, though, that this is contradictory too, which is interesting. We have the money flow index above the RSI. That's usually more favorable than the other way around. So what that basically just tells us in the last 14 days, we've seen a lot more buying pressure, and that should reflect the price action staying in its current range, which for right now we're in the lower range of that, but 220 to 225 should effectively be a support. Now, keep in mind, if Bitcoin runs towards 94.7, the local key level support for Bitcoin, or just say 95,000 as a round number, we're probably going to see Solana break this level and retest 210 to 200. Just keep that in mind, right? That's a distinct probability if that happens. But is Bitcoin going to run towards those levels? It's hard to say just yet. It is working itself into a descending type of trend and establishing lower highs and lower lows. So it's not necessarily looking positive. But as we all very well know, anything can happen, and Bitcoin can really just turn itself around instantly. For right now, we got to give it a chance to close above support. And same thing here with Solana too, okay? Ichimoku Cloud is going to confirm that we are all green lights to consider shorting this coin and to not take a long position right now. Okay, and again, the reason why this is relevant is just because we're below some key level moving averages now. 230 is that rough estimate of resistance. Lagging spans free and clear, implying we got good momentum. Conversion line on the baseline. This is not an optimal situation to take along. And again, this is the funny thing about it, right? Because we're traveling into support, it's very common for prices to pivot off those support levels. So that's where the things kind of get weird here, where it's like, oh wait, Cash, you told me to take a short. No, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you that you're going to find statistically more likelihood of success going down than up at this point. That will change quickly at some points, and we got to recognize when that happens, but it's hard to pick up on that unless you're looking at the charts all day long, right? So between now and tomorrow, the recommendation is to not take a long, even though the price could very well recover, and to consider a short if you'd like. I'm more so leaning towards a short at 99 to 100,000 for Bitcoin if it can recover to that level, okay? I think it's too late to short and too early to long, okay? Again, so it's one of those things where you just kind of got to be patient and wait. And right now we're in one of those moments. We got to give this a chance to hold. If it doesn't hold, the next key area of support would be roughly 215. That's the previous candle wick from before. And then, of course, we can look at some other liquidation levels later. But for the most part right now, we got heavy support here in this range, and we got to see if it holds. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. I don't sound like a broken record. I hope you learned something today, too. Deeply appreciate you liking the video, commenting below. Do yourself a favor. Join us over at Bitunix, folks. $12,000 deposit bonus this month. No KYC or VPN required. And I'll post a playout chart here on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord soon. Just kind of give you perspective on what I'm planning to trade with and what I'm going to do here with this coin. And for right now, it is just easy to state, no trade is a good trade. All right, folks, have a good rest of your day. We'll look forward to seeing the next one.